Builder! What is this? This is the Weeylite Ninja400 II. Cost around $400. It's a 120 watt bi-colored LED that comes with pretty much everything you need, from a control box, V-mount battery options, and a carrying case. The fan noise does decently well. The only bad quirk of the Ninja is that you can only use 55% output when running with the V-mount battery, and the output slowly trickles down instead of just shutting off after the battery's dead. Do I recommend it? If you primarily work out of a studio with power, yes. For this price, it is one of the most competitive bi-colored COB LEDs in this 100 to 120 watt class LED. It's a hard no if you ever want to take this out and use a V-mount battery, as you'll never get the full output that you paid for. Instead, you're maxed out at approximately a 60 watt COB LED with no consistency in output over time. Done! Roll that intro! Hey, what's going on everybody? You're watching Too Long Didn't Read Filmmaker, where the answers comes first, the reasons come last, but we're constantly and always still learning. So today we're gonna find out whether or not the Weeylite Ninja400 II is going to be the right solution for you and your overall filmmaking kit. And I want to thank Viltrox for sending this out to me so I can provide you with my review today. Coming in at approximately $400, you're going to get this bi-colored COB LED light that's completely made out of metal with a full Bowens mount. You'll also get a carrying case, a control box that does have a V-mount battery plate on the back, as well as some DMX controls. And lastly, if you want to connect that control box to a light stand, this does have a little light stand grip. So for $400, you basically get a lot of things that you would need and to basically make your film shoots a lot easier. But without further ado, let's go to some of the tests real quick. When it comes to battery, this is a quirk of this light. What happens here is if you're using a V-mount battery, you're only going to get 55% of full output. Now they state in the manual that this is more or less a safety feature, and I'm not exactly sure why this is, but just something for you to know if you want to take this on the go. You're not going to be able to get the full power out of it. And the second quirk of the battery is that it trickles down slowly. You don't just stay at a constant max level, you actually lose dimness as you go along. Now this is something that they did in the original Ninja 400 from what I could find, and if I had reviewed the original Ninja, I would have told them, don't do that. That's not what we want at all. We need to have consistent power. So in which case, with a 190 watt hour battery, you're looking at approximately less than an hour of full brightness before you start seeing it dim down. When it comes to light output of this bi-colored COB LED, we see that it performs pretty close to the Godox SZ150R, and you can see all of these test numbers that I have at TLDRfilmmaker.com if you want to compare it to any of the other lights that I have tested. But otherwise, let's take a look at the charts real quick. All of these readings are taken from 6 feet away as my standard, and my camera and camera settings are up top. But anyways, we have the bare LEDs on the left here, which means our tungsten is seeing an f11 just to get to 50 IRE, and we see an f16 in daylight. Now, if we turn the fan off on the right side, we see those numbers drop down to f9 and f11, which these are still pretty good numbers, and it gives you a lot of wiggle room, especially if you're shooting at f4 or f5.6. Now, if we pop on the reflector, we see the lux numbers go up quite high, and we also see that the lens maxes out at f22, and our IRE is well above IRE 50. Last but not least, if we turn the fan off while having the reflector on, we still are at f22 to just reach the 50 IRE, and for daylight, we do go a little bit above it. Now, in terms of vector scopes on the color quality test, if we take a look at the vector scopes here, we can see that in 3200K, this is pretty much normal across the board. The skin tone is going to be more towards yellow, and the red is going to be more close towards the skin tone line. And if we take a look at the daylight, it's pretty much shooting exactly where it needs to be. There might be just a hint of blue or magenta, but really not a whole lot. In terms of color quality, this is par for the course. Now, in terms of the fan noise of this COB LED, here are the fan noise tests from 3 feet away and 6 feet away. So what's the bottom line here? Is the Weeylite Ninja400 II something you should be thinking about for your overall filmmaking kit? And for me personally, it's a yes and a no. It's a yes if you are 100% primarily filming inside with access to power. So basically a studio setting. Because the fan noise is really not that loud, which is great. It's more powerful than a 60-watt COB LED. So if you do need that extra power for something like a softbox, that's gonna help you out. And it's a robust build. And you get a control box that has DMX controls if you have a DMX board that can link up into it and you can do all this stuff there. And of course, if you are just having it on a light stand, they give you a clamp so you can just have that control box mounted there and it's not hanging somewhere. So for $400, I don't think at the time of this recording that there's anything else out there that does this at this price point. So if you are on a budget or you're kind of building out a little studio setup and you want to kind of keep your costs down, this would do just fine, especially since the daylight colors are quite good. And I think most of you guys will probably use it as daylight. Now, if you are a filmmaker that if you will be going out in the field and you're going to be using V-mount batteries because you don't have power, it is a hard no. Do not get this light, because I don't understand why Weeylite would have done this. You're capped off at 55% of power, which I get. It's a safety measure, but they should probably have thought, well, if this is a safety measure, we might need to use 2 V-mount batteries so people can get the fullest power. But not only that though, the major deal breaker is the fact that your output is slowly gonna just trickle down. You can't just keep it there and then the battery just runs out and then it shuts off. As a filmmaker, we don't want a variable amount of output. We need to know that's what we want and that's what we're gonna get for however long the battery lasts. So Weeylite, I know you did this in your first Ninja400. I would have assumed that reviewers would have told you don't do it again, but for some reason the second version has it. So this is why at this moment in time, I do not recommend the Ninja400 II if you plan to use V-mount batteries. We'll see what happens if they make a Mark III. And hey, that is it for this week, everybody. If this video has made all the influence in your purchasing decisions, I do have affiliate links down below if you want to help support the channel. Or you can just use the super thanks button if you just want to donate. That also helps me out so I can continue making videos like this for you, as these videos do take quite a long time. Now, as far as if you have any questions or comments, like always, leave it down below. I will get to them as fast as I can. And until then, like, subscribe, and share, and I'll see you guys in the next one.